Jaya Gaura Hare.
Welcome to another episode of Too Much Wise.
This is the Gita Expedition series where we explore the timeless wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita, verse by verse and chapter by chapter.
All that we discuss here is what we've heard from perfected teachers and spiritualists from the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition. None of this is our own analysis.
If you're here for the first time, then we recommend that you watch the warm-up series of the Bhagavad Gita where we introduce some concepts of the Gita for the first time.
This episode is better heard than watched. You can hear it while taking a walk, while driving, cooking, or even walking out.
We've had a lot of fun recording this, and we hope that it's an enriching experience for all of you as well. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hey, Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. You have a different setup.
Hello.
I can see.
Hello from Dehradun.
Is that CGI?
Huh?
Is that CGI?
No.
Is that CGI background
That's
behind you?
That's a nice Airbnb and a sunny afternoon
Mm.
in Uttarakhand.
Yeah.
Just came here to take a break.
Jai.
This podcast is getting heavy
Yeah.
on us. No, just kidding. Our jobs are getting heavy on us. They're paying for the podcast.
Yeah. Not gonna say that on air. But
Yeah, I doubt someone
Just
from
kidding.
office is listening to me. If they are, then
Yeah.
they might want to call a meeting after seeing this episode. They're like, "तू क्या कर रहा है दोपहर के बीच में देहरादून में बैठ के?"
Yeah.
Anyhow, should we start?
Yeah.
Okay. So, reading from chapter 1 of the Bhagavad Gita, shloka 21 and 22. Arjuna uvacha senayorvayormadhye ratam sthapyame uchchata yavadetan niriksheham yodhukaman avasthitan kairamaya saha yodhavayam asmin rana samudhyame. Arjun said, O infallible one, please draw my chariot between the two armies so that I may see those present here who desire to fight and with whom I must contend in this great trial of arms.
Yeah. So we have spoken in the last section about the chariot. Now it's just inching towards the start of the war. We can feel it. We can feel the pulse. Everybody's blown their conch shells. Yeah, we're getting to see a little more details from the battlefield also. In this particular couple of shlokas, Arjuna says something very important. This is a very, I think, famous shloka. People know
Yeah.
about this. He says, "Oh, driver of mine, who also happens to be God, please take my chariot between the two great armies." Yeah, uh, quite a non like a non-conventional move, don't you think? Before a battle, just going in the middle
Yeah.
of it and just being there alone,
Yeah.
non-conventional. What do you think Arjun is trying to do? Trying to throw them off, confuse them? What is he
Yeah.
trying to do?
Definitely unconventional. He's for sure not going for like a peacemaking negotiation. Too late for that. Uh,
Yeah, too
but
late. They've tried
like
that.
it says in the shloka, he wants to see who is there to fight, and
Yeah,
he also wants to see who he has to fight with. So it's more like, okay, I'm
correct.
fighting with my family. Let me finally see who has sided uh, with the not so dutiful side, who from my family.
Yeah,
So he just wants to see his opponents for the last time before he shoots his first arrow. There's
yeah,
there's also one more thing which is unconventional here, which you mentioned, which is that he's calling out Krishna as the driver.
yeah,
Let me like not be so harsh. At least he calls him Achyuta. That's what he starts with. At least some
yeah,
adjective to begin with. Uh, that's that
correct.
little a little
Respectfully.
respect to begin with. But then he's saying, okay, can you please drive me there? It's like, oh, Ola ji, bhaiya ji, thoda aage
Yeah,
leke chalenge. So
yeah,
that's the
yeah. So
unconventional bit.
he's
Yeah.
Yeah, but this part of the whole first chapter is called Bhakta Vatsal Bhagavan, or the best well-wishing friend,
Okay.
Krishna.
Pausing you here
And
again.
yeah,
So we started with
yeah,
preparation of war, uh, and
for
then
yeah,
we went to
signs of
signs of
victory.
victory, which we did till the last episode.
Last,
And now we are
yeah,
talking Bhakt Vatsal Krishna. So the battlefield is
yes,
prepared, and some signs of victory. Duryodhan gave out some signs, the conch shell gave out some signs, the flag of
Yeah.
Hanuman was a sign, and now the third section. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, the third section here actually, what is getting established is Krishna is the best well wisher that we have. Like a person who can actually go to whenever we have any problems, and he's qualified to help us out. That is something that is getting established, and why not? It's the right place to get established, right? Because right after this section is where the doubts of Arjun starts, the
Yeah.
questions start. So
Okay.
right before that, we're
Mhm.
establishing that okay, Arjuna is going to ask some questions to someone who is Krishna. Why is he the authority to give us the right answer? That is getting established in this current section, right
Okay.
before the doubts start, basically.
Okay. And
Yeah,
this section is starting by Arjun demanding something from Krishna, demanding something that you would actually ask your, maybe your servant. Like in the last episode, we spoke about how
yeah,
Hanuman was a servant of Ram, and how the word servant spiritually has a very different connotation from the word servant materially.
yeah,
Now over here,
yeah,
it seems like there's something wrong, because Arjun is appearing like the master, Krishna is appearing like the servant. That cannot be the case.
yeah,
But something unusual is happening here. Krishna actually in the Bhagavad Gita, in the shlokas, in the chapters ahead, he says that I am the controller of nature, I am the origin of everything. The wind blows because of me, the
yeah,
fire burns because of me, the sun shines because of me, the rain falls because of me. And Arjun is saying, Are sir, please move my chariot ahead. So, what is this
yeah,
relationship? We all do know that Krishna is God. So, Krishna has got to be the master. But here in this scene,
yeah.
why is Krishna acting like the servant? And that's where the first element of Bhakta Vatsal comes in. Like, he's the
Correct.
master, but he
Yeah,
is this
yeah.
Vatsalya. He has this love for Arjuna, which is making him the servant of Arjuna.
Yeah, so he's, I mean, Arjun, here, Arjun also, after this chapter, when Krishna actually starts speaking, you will see him getting introduced as Bhagavan. Vedavyas make
Yeah.
sure that he makes that distinction and establishes Krishna as God. But here,
Mhm.
Arjun also calls him Achyuta, or the
Yeah.
infallible one, right? Who can be infallible? To is to human, right? To be, if you're a human being, you have errors in you, you have fallacies. We talk about it all the time, but here he makes that distinction that you
Yeah.
cannot have any errors
Yeah.
over a person who cannot have any errors.
Yeah.
He's calling out to him like that, and he
Yeah.
makes that distinction. But right in that same sentence he says, he
Okay.
asks for something. It's not a, yeah, it's not like a prayer. He's not praying, oh infallible one, please bless me. He's not saying that. He's like,
Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
infallible one, please draw my chariot between the two
Yeah.
armies. And
Yeah.
that is where, as you said, the element of bhakta vatsal comes. If I
Yeah.
may, can I take a moment to break down the word bhakta
Yeah.
vatsal?
Yeah. Let's do that.
So what's it's supposed to be like, we've heard this in like mythological series and things like that. Okay, hey what's, and all, we hear all of that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what's the word, it basically translates to a calf, like the youngling of a cow, right? And the mother actually takes a lot of care of the youngling. If you have ever seen, keeps the calf always near her, licks her, feeds her, protects the calf very much. And that's where the word vatsalya comes from, which is motherly or protective or parental love comes from. That's where the word is coming from. But here, what is being talked about, that Krishna is what, he's bhakta vatsal. That who is he nurturing, who is he looking to protect, who is he trying to nourish, just like a mother would do, as like a parent would do for a child. Bhakta, the devotees, he is one who always protects, nourishes, and tries to nurture his devotees. That is the part that is being shown here by his whole act of being God, being infallible, but yet coming into a position of being a servant or servitude of his devotees, taking that position willingly, voluntarily, lovingly, happily, in fact. That's what brings out this aspect of Bhakta Vatsal Bhagavan.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. I love this this language expertise of yours. This how you're breaking up these
Actually,
words.
Sanskrit
Yeah,
is great like that. It somehow gives
yeah,
us these insights. The words itself give us so much, so many interesting facts.
yeah,
Basically, it's very interesting.
yeah, yeah. But hidden in the meaning of Bhaktavatsal, uh, is this uh, unheard of revelation of God. God as not
Yeah,
this old man with a white beard and a stick in his hand. He's not an order carrier, order fulfiller, uh, punishment giving superhuman. Yeah. Suddenly
yeah,
he's almost human. He's like, oh,
yeah,
he's a friend of Arjun. Arjun is ordering him,
yeah,
uh, and
yeah,
with his vatsalya, with his motherly, fatherly love, he's reciprocating. And this
yeah,
unusual demeanor of God often leads to misunderstanding of Krishna and Ram as
yeah,
God, right? Or for that matter,
yeah,
any other avatar, because it's so
yeah.
difficult to comprehend. Oh my God, how can God be
Not
like this?
Narsimha though.
Yeah, perhaps not Narsimha.
When he comes as
And
Narsimhadev or Matsya Avatar, because just because he
yeah,
doesn't look like us, it's so dependent on our senses, especially our visual and bodily platform, that even when God comes as all of these other forms, we are like, no, no, this is great, this is
yeah,
fine because this is something fantastic. God has to be
mm,
fantastic.
yeah, yeah,
So it is out of a fantasy. This is great. But when he
yeah,
comes just like a cowherd boy, when he comes
yeah,
just like Ram, like a
yeah.
king, even Brahma for that matter, we know that
Yeah, yeah.
we
We'll
got
consider
bewildered like
Brahma as
this.
God. Yeah, yeah. We'll consider like four
Yeah,
heads, four heads. So unusual.
yeah. Four heads, four arms,
Yeah,
something big. But even Brahma, I'm saying that even Brahma, when he saw Krishna as a coward boy,
uh,
he, the creator of the universe, got bewildered. Like this can't be
yeah,
God. So yeah, it that nature is somehow there, and that's what you're
yeah.
saying. That yeah, we never we basically want. This is the thought that came up to me, Prabhu. That we want Krishna, God. Whenever we think of God, yeah, the big guardian that is there. But on the other hand, we also think ki God is everybody's friend, God is everybody's father. We think of that. But when he actually comes as a
Actually
friend,
comes
when
as
he
a father.
actually comes as a
Yeah. Oh
father,
yeah. Yeah.
we
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
taken
Yeah.
aback.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we
But that is getting opened
yeah,
up here, Prabhu, I
yeah,
think.
that's a really nice point. Like that's when we are in moments of distress, when we are in moments of grief, we're like, mera koi nahi hai, there's nobody who's close to me, nobody understands me, only God understands me.
Yeah.
And then when he comes as a friend, I actually understand, like, no, 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 no,
Yeah.
how can this be God? That's so true. I've
This
never
can't
thought
be.
like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, as soon as God becomes accessible to us, becomes reachable to us,
Yeah.
allows us to build a relationship with him, we cut that
Yeah.
relationship. This is so funny
Yeah.
because we can't see God in any other form or meaning other than an uh, out of the world, over the top authoritative figure.
Yeah.
Uh, but we forget that we ourselves are more than just authority, right? What do we relish most in our
Right.
lives? We don't relish being a boss the most. Uh,
Right.
that's a flavor we have, but we also relish more the flavor of being a great friend, being a good
Yeah.
child, being a husband, being a father. And hence, if we
Yeah.
can be a boss and at the same time be a friend, be a father, God too can
Yeah.
be the boss, because he's saying it,
Correct.
that I am the controller of everything. But at the same time, he's also a friend, he's also a lover, he's
Yeah.
also a father. And he, like
Correct.
us, enjoys this role of being a father friend more than being a boss.
Yeah, but it's all this seems very far-fetched, lofty, Prabhu, because in the more we have heard about God, actually, why we like this idea. Even people who accept God is there. The theists per se, they think God at a distance, God as an all-encompassing power, is great because. Even then you find you're subservient, but is subservient to a set of rules. God is basically a body of rules that you basically can follow, a big energy whom you can ask help from, or draw energy from, or grant get things granted by. But the moment you God becomes a person, you have to interact with the person, you have to get to know, you have to have a relationship with that person. That makes it tricky. And one, it is alien for us. We've never heard of God being presented like that, as an actual real person with feelings and with a personality. And second, we don't know how to handle it, in the sense that okay, I'll have to interact here. How do I actually interact with God? We are struggling interact with humans mein hi abhi to, and now you're saying I have to interact with God.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is a concept that is getting opened up here,
Yeah.
that God as a actual, the word that Srila Prabhupada uses as supreme personality of Godhead, that actually is getting opened up in this verse. Yeah.
Yeah. Just going one step ahead, uh, why we why we can't see God as this relatable figure. We 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 tend to stand at either of the two extremes. One extreme is where we start taking this affectionate God as a very cheap relationship, this very cheap relationship, just a usual friendship. And then we start imitating this relationship. There are a few folks who will start
Hmm.
imitating this relationship. And
Yeah.
when these folks are observed by another set, uh, they're like, hey, what's happening? Like, how can this relationship be so crude? How can it be so raw? How can it's
Yeah.
almost like cringe worthy, and that thus they want to run away from this conception of God as an affectionate
Yeah.
uh, friend or father.
What you're saying, what you're saying also reminds me of how when we were kids we used to have like stuffed toys and we used to
Yeah.
name them, and we actually used to imagine that
Yeah.
those are actual personalities. We used to
Yeah.
feed them, talk to them, and for a person who's grown up, they'll think, yeah, it's a great thing, man behla
Yeah.
raha hai
Yeah.
apna, and it's nice. But the grown up version to the same people who don't understand God is that, oh my god, these guys didn't grow up, they didn't grow out of it, they're actually living their whole lives based on a
Yeah.
whimsical fictional thing that they made out of their minds, which is actually sad, because that's one
Yeah.
extreme of things. These guys are apparent believers of God, but the basis that they're following for their belief is none other than their own making of
Yeah.
their own mind, which again is
Yeah.
tricky, which is again a little
Yeah.
murky
So
waters
there are
there.
two extremes. One is where uh, cheap God, you take the relationship with God very cheaply, and then there's the other
Yeah.
extreme where you're like, it can't be so cheap. These are kids playing with stuffed toys. God can't be
Yeah.
like this
Yeah.
at all. But the truth is
Yeah.
in the middle, and you reach that middle
Yeah.
when you have proper knowledge. So
Correct.
uh,
Correct.
the Bhagavad Gita, the Bhagavatam, the scriptures give us this proper knowledge. Uh,
Yeah.
it's true that God is an authority. It's true that God is affectionate. He's a friend. He's a father. But to rebuild this relationship of friend and father requires a process. It requires knowledge. It
Yeah.
requires renunciation. And all in all, if you have to
Yeah.
club all these elements of the process into one word, we call it, the Bhagavad Gita calls it Bhakti Yoga. Through Bhakti Yoga,
Yeah.
you can understand and re-establish this affectionate relationship with God, but in a very scientific and systematic manner, not in a cheap
Yeah.
imitation stuff, kids playing with stuffed toy manner.
Yeah. I mean, Bhakti Yoga, all our scriptures, especially the one in Bhakti Yoga traditions, talk about three things we know about this: Sambandha, Abhidheya, and Prayojan, which is, and the first part is, who am I? Sambandha means relationship of who am I, who is God, and what is our relationship. And that is the first step of all the Bhakti scriptures that they talk about. And this is that, yeah, God is there, God is a person, you are there, you are a person, but how do you fulfill that relationship? How do you realize that relationship? There's a
Yeah.
process to learn that. You can't make it up. That third part is important. Abhideya part is important, Prayojan part is important, and you can't make it up with your own mind. Like, you get to know that, yeah, God is there, you get to know you're there. You can't make up your own ideas of God, you can't make up your own relationship with God. That is very dangerous, because that is basically you're worshipping your own thoughts in guise of being a theist, in guise of being a religionist. You're worshipping the thoughts of your own mind, the making of your own mind. The deity is your mind there, the deity is not Krishna. And that is very dangerous, because one, it doesn't take you anywhere. Two, people who are actual seekers, they
Yeah.
look at you and their faith
Yeah.
will break. Their faith will break in religion, because they're like, okay, this is crazy. They're just making up stuff on the go, and then just doing whatever they like. It doesn't make any sense. It just repels them further away and breaks
Yeah.
their faith. So we're doing a disservice to us ourselves and
Yeah.
to others when we're doing that.
And for those who find it tough to believe that God is also uh, affectionate, have a you can have a pure direct relationship with him. For those who believe that God is
Yeah.
only uh, mm, giving or taking figure, uh, punishing figure, for them Krishna here is is showing right here in the middle of Mahabharat, in Bhagavad Gita. He's displaying it. That, hey, listen, I am driving my my bhakts, my devotees chariot. Like, you can have an
Correct.
affectionate relationship.
Yeah.
It's true. Mm, uh,
Yeah.
when people look at that, they're like, Krishna is definitely not God. How can he
Hmm.
be God? But God is trying to
You
show it.
know.
He's like shaking you up. Hey, listen,
Yeah.
listen, like, this is the relationship.
Yeah. Here is not even it's so funny that you mentioned this, Prabhu. Like, I've once a person asked me, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, worship me, I am God, I am this, I am that. How can a God actually say all this? This is
Yeah,
narcissistic, this is
yeah.
egomaniac
We had this in one
behavior.
of the
This
comments,
can't
right?
be
Also.
comments also. Yeah. And so if God comes and tells you that he is God, you don't believe him. If God comes and serves you, and becomes your servant and serves you, then you're
ये
like,
भी
no,
नहीं
no,
है.
this can't be God, he
Yeah.
is serving. How can it be? What do you want? Like, what do you want to happen that
Yeah,
you will
yeah.
believe that somebody is
It's
actually
our
God?
it's our
You
very
just don't
it's our
want to believe.
complex nature. It's such a complex nature of the
Yeah.
mind. You are not
Correct.
listening to the direct uh,
Yeah.
instruction, to the direct explanation of God, right? You're trying
Yeah.
to break it down and find an ulterior meaning behind that. It's so simple. He's
Correct.
saying, I'm God, I have a relationship with all
Yeah.
of you, and once we establish that relationship, we live affectionately. That's it. नहीं नहीं नहीं,
Yeah.
ऐसे कैसे हो सकता है? He is saying he is God, that means
Yeah.
he is not God.
Yeah.
Why are you complicating it?
And we see this in all relationship. As you said, it's so simple that God's there, he's our ultimate source, and we are all his part and parcel, as Prabhupada uses the word. Or we basically are his portions, or full portions, but individual portions in ourselves. We are in a sense his children, we're God's children. So when God does come and interact, you can see very nicely there's nothing complicated there. He's being very affectionate to them, he's having a good time with them, he's fulfilling that relationship. What is the big deal? If a mother serves a child, does that make the
Yeah,
mother lesser
yeah.
than the child?
Hmm.
No.
Yeah.
It's a mother's love. She can
Hmm.
do whatever. A father, maybe the
Yeah.
owner of a company, but he can still be like, आज driver नहीं जाएगा,
Yeah.
आज मैं drive करके,
Yeah.
I'll drive you to school, I want to drive you
Yeah.
to school. What does that make? It doesn't make him smaller or bigger. He's just doing, he has affection for the child, he wants to spend time with the child, he's just taking
Yeah.
care of the child. Just like that, it's so simple that Krishna wants to stay at the side of his devotee even during war, and he's there as a
Mm.
charioteer. What bigger proof do you
Yeah.
want of his
Yeah.
selfless love to, for us, that he's not an
Mm. Yeah.
egomaniac, in
Yeah.
fact.
And if God will not have this attribute, then God will not be God.
Yeah.
Because we have this
Correct.
attribute of being the owner, as you
Yeah.
said, on one hand, and then driving our kid or our spouse as well. That doesn't mean,
Yeah.
he's a driver, how can he be the owner of the company? If we can be a
Correct.
driver and the owner at the same time, then why can't God be like that? Like,
Yeah.
by default,
Yeah.
God will not be God if he doesn't have this attribute.
Correct. In fact, it is said that his sweetness, the sweetness of God, is enhanced because, despite him being the greatest, he doesn't mind doing
Yeah.
the smallest of things for you, the
Yeah.
hardest
Yeah.
of things for you. That is what makes him the
Yeah.
sweetest. It is through
Yeah.
his greatness do we get to know
Yeah.
about his sweetness.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we see that all the
Mhm.
time in his pastimes. It's just that we have to
Yeah.
get to know him. Just have
Yeah.
to get to know
And
him.
he enjoys sweetness more than authority, just like we do.
Yeah.
He enjoys
Yeah.
it. And when he is in that zone of sweetness, he likes to forget authority. Yeah. And that's his
Yeah.
greatness, as you said. That's his greatness. Like, okay, authority is for
Yeah.
those who just want that authority relationship with me. I relish
Correct.
the sweet relationship. There are those who know that I am beyond the
Mm.
authority. I have a sweet side, and I'm going
Yeah.
to engage in that sweetness with them.
Yeah. We don't want a relationship with God because, I mean, with Krishna, because Krishna is God. We want a relationship with Krishna because he's the ultimate source of happiness. He's the
Yeah.
sweetest guy. He's the best Valentine.
Oh,
He's
today is
the
Valentine's Day. We're
he's the
recording it
best.
on Valentine's Day. What a moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's our best Valentine, and there's no and when I say Valentine, basically means that with him our relationship will never come out
Yeah.
unrequited or
Yeah.
unfulfilled. That is, we expect whatever we expect in the relationships of this world, with whatever we expect from the things of this world. It's an expectation which is mismatched. We expect happiness. That will come only when we move our energies towards Krishna in that relationship, because he
Yeah.
is the ultimate
Yeah.
source of happiness. We want to connect with him not
Yeah.
because he's God. We want to connect with him because what a
Yeah.
wonderful person he is, and for that we'll have to
Yeah.
get to know him. That is
Yeah.
the whole process
So
of
if we
bhakti yoga.
find ultimate happiness in the ultimate source of happiness, and if we build a relationship with the ultimate source of happiness, then we are
Yeah,
truly being selfish. So, so if we want to
correct.
actually be
In the
selfish,
true sense.
we should build a relationship.
In the true sense. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a
yeah,
shlok from the Bhagavatam. That person who really knows
yeah,
his own self-interest builds a relationship with the Lord.
correct. Yeah,
Okay, that was a really nice
yes,
discussion. We're out of time. Happy Valentine's Day. Let's
without
build
that.
our Valentine
Yeah,
relationship. As you said, the true Valentine
with
relationship with
Krishna.
Krishna. Okay. Hare Krishna,
Yeah,
Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Jaya Gaura